Hi, I'm Randulic, and welcome to CE Hits List, where we connect musicians with comic creators to talk comics, music, and current events. Comics Experience is a community offering classes, mentorships, our creators workshop, creative services, master seminars, publishing, and more. Check out all the details at comicsexperience.com. Our guests need no introduction today, but I'd like to welcome Comic Creators writer Kieron Gillen and artist Jamie McKelvie of The Wicked and the Divine and Phonogram fame. Among the innumerable accomplishments, Kieron's Die series and Jamie's appreciation of the redesign of Captain Marvel would stand out to me personally. All right. I'd also like to welcome Phangs, who has millions of streams on Spotify, song premieres on Billboard, and an upcoming North American headlining tour. Welcome, gents.
Hi.
Let's go ahead and dive in. We'll start with Jamie and Kieron. I heard that Phonogram was supposedly created as a deconstruction of the Brit pop rock you gents like. Is that true?
Well, define true.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
like, fair.
Phonogram, like originally, it was the idea was, oh, here's a device. Me and Jamie are people who've been absolutely shaped by music. It changed our lives. It made us who we were. So, like, Phonogram was one way of talking about that, like turning that into an urban fantasy story. And we always wanted to do different stories, but the first one specifically was about Britpop. Well, it was kind of about Britpop as a case study. You know, like we're trying to say, like, here's this character, Cole, who's very loosely based on the worst parts of me. And here's how he became the person he was. And now he's 10 years on looking at that and thinking, oh, wait a second, that wasn't true. It was that kind of, it's particularly a story about how the nostalgia cycle works. So, like, if you're in a scene and then you see it start to come back in 10 years' time, you start going, it wasn't like that. I was there. You know, you're simplifying it. It's a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And especially with someone like me, who was always kind of suspicious of nostalgia. You know, like, so you starting to have to deal with nostalgia for the first time. It became a story about that. So we used Britpop as a case study. But in a real way, why people kind of hopefully like Phonogram is they kind of read it about their own experience. Sure, some people were Britpop fans, but in the real way, it's like anybody who kind of bought into a scene and then sees it becomes reprocessed down the line can go, oh yeah, I get it. I mean, me and Jamie used to always say, like, you know, in the High Fidelity, they moved it to the States in the US version.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Phonogram ever got bought as a movie, it would be taken and dropped in Seattle. And it would be about, you know, grunge 10 years on. It would be set in 2003. It's entirely about that. And we joke about that. But at the same time, A, it's true. That's what they would do. And B, it would be okay. Because, you know, it's all typically about you take someone in that scene and move them forward through time and then talk about how things have changed and how things haven't and how they feel about it. So, yeah, that's kind of what it's about. And that was a long answer.
And we get a lot of people who come up to us and say, you know, I didn't listen to Britpop or whatever, but, like, I understand what you're saying because this is how I felt about the music I was into 10 years ago or whatever, and this is how I've interpreted it. And so it's like, although it's the first story is about Britpop, it's also universal in that respect. So, and then once we get to the second one and the third one, it becomes about different things anyway. So.
Fair. I think that we can all, I think we all know that vibe, you know, especially like when you hear a song from like 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, and it like immediately you think back to when you heard that song, or maybe you went to that concert, you know, or whatever it is, it just feels good. Sometimes not, but like it takes you somewhere, you know.
We did a whole story about that in the second volume, actually, and it was called basically the story is basically someone walks into a nightclub, a record drops, and they are basically confronted with an apparition of an ex who basically forces them to relive a series of painful memories. And of course, that's just me writing about what I describe as a curse song, as in this, you know, you've effectively been cursed by that record. And, you know, when we say music is magic, we kind of mean it like that. It's always like, okay, this is a very real thing we've all experienced, but it might as well be magic. You know, like I've been reduced to tears from that kind of stuff, or like really genuinely messed around with. But as you said, you know, Anne, also I've been like transformed into a beautiful place as well. So like, you know, that's a real power that music has. So yeah, absolutely that.
Yeah. something that I feel is so important for our current times. You know, to be able to get lost in whatever it is that you want to get lost in. You know what I mean? To maybe just drown out a little bit of what's currently happening or how it's making you feel.
Absolutely.
All right. That being said, you mentioned you know, like 10 years ago and you know, this specific time frame. Did you guys play any instruments? Or were you just part of the scene?
No, I mean I did. I was a drummer in a band. God, over 20 years ago now. So
okay.
A very long time ago. Yeah, and then I moved down to London, and the rest of the band didn't want to move, and that was kind of it. Because, you know, 3-hour drive for a rehearsal kind of got a bit tiring. So, and then I just didn't stick with it. So.
Yeah, I wasn't a musician. I played bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So my soul.
Really high.
Yeah. No, low. Very low.
Yeah.
Like my
soul.
Style.
Yeah. My soul. It was like the Peter Hook kind of bass playing. I was always down here. My sole ability as a musician was that A, I would organise the actual rehearsals. I was the person who actually did that important job. And B, I could play anything I could play whilst jumping off a speaker. It was that kind of like, I was not a musician in any real way. But I was like, although Jamie recorded. I mean, I got to a place with the band and I just suddenly realised I could not be bothered trying to organise this number of people. And that's why I went, you know, in same as actually, somebody moved away from the town I was in and made me realise they weren't serious about the band, in which case, I do want to work a real job. So I had to just, you know, that's why I went all in on writing, because I realised all I could really was, you know, I could only really do something by myself. And I was much better. I was so much better as a writer.
That's
fair. Jake, I know yours is more than one instrument. So what do you got going on over there?
I mean, this is like my home studio. I play guitar, bass, piano. I have like 4 pianos that you can't even see right now. They're everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I play a bunch of stuff. I used to get grounded as a kid a lot. I was a horrible student, and I would just not do schoolwork. I never liked school. I knew it wasn't for me. And I would get grounded often. And during those times of being grounded, I would just learn a new instrument, because I just kind of randomly had weird instruments in my house. And my parents didn't play. I don't know why they were in my house, but I would learn how to play bass first. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they would ground me from the bass because I would play it all the time instead of doing schoolwork. And then I would learn how to play guitar. And then they'd ground me from that. I'd learn how to play piano and so forth. So.
Sorry, Jake's parents. Apologies for asking that question.
Oh, no. They're aware. They're very aware of how bad.
They're like, yes, we know.
Yeah.
I love the idea of random instruments appearing magically in your house. You know, that's like a great idea.
So, nobody in my family. My grandmother remarried to this guy, and I grew up in East Texas, which is like so Southern American, weird place. But my grandmother remarried to this guy from California, and he played music, and he had all these instruments, and I loved it. And I would just like go over to their house all the time, just play anything I could get my hands on, playing like saxophones for no reason, like just being as loud as possible. And I just weirdly, I don't know why, we just had all these weird instruments that just ended up in my house, and I would learn them. I don't know. And that was before like YouTube and everything too. So I just was figuring it out.
Yeah. Came naturally.
Just
Jamie was a bit like that with art, because Jamie's got a weird origin story that you get a lot of comic people who do a lot of serious work and train for years. And Jamie just started drawing one day, and it turned out like that. And it drives all of the comic artists mad.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I drew as a kid, but like not seriously or anything. And then I got into comics when I was like 20 or so, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is something I can do. So I gave it a go. 3 years later, met Kieron, and then 3 years after that, we published the first phonogram. So
wow,
yeah, compressed amount of time. Although sometimes I wish, like, I mean, maybe wish is too strong a word, but sometimes I wonder, like, if I'd started drawing earlier, how much further along would I be in how I want my stuff to be? But also it would be different because I would have taken different influences, and it would have been, so.
Did you do the art on Wicked and Divine?
Yeah.
I love the head blowing up, those parts where it like goes to like the like kind of mid like halftone things. I think
So I work with a colorist, Matt Wilson, and we
Amazing.
He's incredible. Yeah, but like a lot of the time, the coloring is almost like the ends of a chain of events of people working. But like we wanted to bring Matt in really early, so we spent a lot of time at the beginning, like planning and discussing how we wanted these things to look and everything. And I can't remember if it was like specifically I think it was in the script because you didn't want it to be like super. I mean, it is gory, but it's not like realistic gory. And so we wanted to do something else with it that would shock the reader when they turn the page. But and then so between us we came up with this the pop art thing for it. It was so much fun working with Matt. I mean, a
lot, especially with Jamie and Matt, and me as well, when I'm part of the conversation, it's always trying to look for inspiration elsewhere. You know what I mean? It's not just taking from comics and being very incestuous isn't really our thing. So, like, I mean, there was actually the episode, like, episode 14, which is the remix issue. And there's explicitly, we made the whole issue from the previous 13 issues by sampling panels, and then Matt processed them all. So it was essentially him doing a visual remix. And I kind of wanted to be like the old 1980s sampling, so it was all kind of obvious. Except it didn't turn out like that at all. It turned out it was very modern because people didn't even realise that it was all the same old art because he'd just completely done these washes of colour to it. It was pretty amazing to watch, Jamie put that together with Matt.
Yeah. It was it's funny because like I think when Kieron wrote that issue, he thought it would be really quick for me and Matt. Because I was drawing this third phonogram at the same time, and it was like, you cut and paste it, it'll be really, really quick, but it wasn't.
Fair.
It was fine. It all worked out.
I love like the pages that had all of the tiny, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, all of those small panels that you had to draw out. I just can't imagine the time that probably took you.
It was quite a labor-intensive comic.
I'm sure.
Not always.
Well, it shows.
But then, I mean, that's part of the thing. Like when we're doing this book, all of us, everybody on the team, we were all from the beginning. We're like, well, we have to give this our everything. This is our one. Like, so a lot of the time in comics, you don't get to have your big project, I guess. Like, you don't get to have that 5-year project that's yours. And so that's what we're going to do. And like, well, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it properly. So we've all got to put our all into it. So like, it was a lot of extra work for me. It was a lot of extra work for Matt and Clayton, but also like for Kieron, the amount of like research and stuff that Kieron put into this book is enormous compared to your average comic. Not to like say, obviously it's not easy all the time anyway, but the amount of work he put into it was just ridiculous.
He's like, thank you.
Thank you. I think Jamie might be sick. I was like, well, okay, where's the punchline?
No, well, you see, it's been a few months now, so I can look back at it nicely.
There.
Thank you.
Love that. I love it. All right. Well, since we're talking about the Wicked and the Divine, this is a question for all three of you, but we'll start with our creators. If you could be a rock star, who would you be and why? Kieron.
So it's like, I would be someone entirely new and brilliant, obviously. But if I had to, like, who would I actually be? I don't know. I'll use my mum's answer. Because anytime my mum saw a photo of the Clash, she always said, like, you would fit in well with the Clash, Kieron. And I was like, I'll go along with that. That seems a pretty acceptable rock and roll band to be in.
Okay.
But like, to actually want the KLF were a British band, really weird. I'd have loved to be in the KLF. This kind of like this semi-anarchist, weird situationalist, had enormous hits, were very weird, then burnt £1 million and stopped. Being that kind of weirdo cult, that'd be appealing.
All right, I dig.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I was just saying, I'm not sure I would want to be, just because I of all the downsides of it as well, being that massively famous.
Fair. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
We joke that people often say we're the Pet Shop Boys of comics.
It's true. Yeah.
That, you know, finally up.
Aww.
Yeah. Any kind of role where I could just stand behind a keyboard or behind some stuff.
Yeah.
Fair.
Like he's the pretty one who stands at the back and does all the work, whilst I'm the slightly mouthy, less attractive one who talks all the time. You know, that's our energy. You know.
Okay, I like it. Punk vibe.
The problem is that Neil Tennant, before he was in the Pet Shop Boys, was a Marvel editor, Marvel UK. So the Pet Shop Boys are the Pet Shop Boys of comics. So
that is true.
they beat us to it.
All right, Jake. Thanks.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's not as rock and roll, but I would probably just want to be like Prince.
Oh God.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Wouldn't we all?
I mean, I feel like Prince is the one for me. It would be between like Prince and Michael. I feel like Prince has a slightly less baggage, so maybe I'd go with that.
Keep it a Prince. Keep it a Prince.
Yeah. What happens if you were a comics person, or like if you were like a writer, if you were someone who wasn't like in music, who would you want to be?
Ooh. So say it again. If I was
somebody who wasn't in music, like whether
if I wasn't in music,
yeah. Yeah.
Oh man,
that's a big question.
I mean, if I wasn't playing music, I would probably be playing like pro soccer, honestly, or football. I played played through college and all kinds of stuff here in America. And I thought that's what I was going to do until I went on like my first tour after I graduated high school, and I quit school because again, I hate school. But I think I'd probably be in the sports world, but I literally can't imagine not playing music. I that's not been like a thought process for me. I don't know.
Did anyone get to see Prince?
I didn't get to see Prince either.
No, he did. He came over and he did that like weird sort of like not residency because he hopped around a lot, but he was in London for like 3 months or so.
It was a while.
Yeah, like 2015 or something, 2016. And it was that thing where like he wouldn't even announce it. It would somehow get out and people would line up and it'd be like £10 a ticket. And every time I was like, I've got deadlines, I can't go. You'll tour again.
That's amazing that's all the tickets were. Like I have so much appreciation for that.
Yeah. No, it was like, if you could line up, it was brilliant. Everyone, and he played like 6 or 7 shows that summer, I think. There was quite a few shows.
I don't know how many. It was a lot. It might even be more than that. It was a really small venue. It was a proper residency. You know what I mean? And it's like I still same as Jamie. I was in London at the time. I'm freelance. I could have gone and sat in that queue. Why didn't I? What was wrong with me?
Yeah.
For £10, that's amazing. What are you guys listening to right now besides Prince?
Just Prince 24/7.
Just Prince.
No. No, who wants to go first?
I've gone first every time.
Okay, I will go first. So the new Hayley Williams album is super good. So a lot of the time when I'm like writing or drawing, I can't have lyrics. There's a guy called Makeup and Vanity Set. He does a bunch of like kind of synth stuff that's really good for drawing. So that's always kind of on.
That's cool.
Party Nails album just came out this week. That's really good. Khaki King just put a new song out. That's also really good. And beyond that, my mind is going blank.
Fair.
That's 4.
It doesn't also have to be new music. It can be whatever you're just listening to. But fair.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll often pop back to like The Cure or New Order or what else? Oh yeah, a friend of ours put up an Electro Clash playlist last week. That both me and Kieron were just like, remember this
classic early noughties Electro Clash. It's that kind of like
it is kind of horrifying when you realise how long ago it was. But
this is really like secretory, you know. It's like, oh yeah, this is filthy. This is really filthy.
Yeah.
But I
Good
like it.
stuff, though.
I was really into the Ultra Racer album Sister like a few weeks ago, which I thought was great. It mainly like made me weirdly like the first video from the album, like it just involves walking around London. So of course right now it's like it's absolutely this. If I was walking around like a Hoxton area in London with this blaring in my earphones, it's absolutely what I miss. It's just really wonderful, big circular sort of stuff there. I really like the new Poppy album. I think it's incredible. I'm just like I'm very much into this kind of that mixture of heavy and sweetness and just the slight weirdness to it all. It's really delightful. But I'm also there's a book I'm reading, like Bob Stanley, who is in a band called Saint Etienne, who like I was an enormous fan. I think Jamie liked him as well.
Yeah.
But he's also a music writer, and he did a book called Yeah Yeah Yeah, which was his history of pop music. So it's a big like 800-page book. So it starts like he's from the beginning of the British charts in '52 to the start of iTunes. That's his area. He's counting as what he wants to write about pop.
Okay.
And it's got like so in other words, it's all rock. It's you know from rockabilly and jump blues and I'm just going through doo wop and like all the skiffle stuff in the UK. And it's got a playlist which is someone's made a playlist of every single song mentioned in the book.
Wow.
So I'm all like you can imagine how long it is. So I'm like listening. So I'm using that to listen to songs as I go through it. And it's like I mean I'm somebody who, obviously I'm 44 now, so I'm a significant age. But there's still whole areas of music there I just don't know that well. And there's stuff I know really well. And it's interesting to know more about the context, but to sort of to go through and hear little bits. So I'm getting all sorts of really interesting stuff there. You go, oh, wow, this still sounds kind of quite weird and futuristic now. So that's kind of I haven't actually read a decent book about music in a while. So like this is actually really very exciting for me because it's like, oh, wow, there's so much stuff here.
I dig that. Paul McCartney 2 has a track on it called Check My Machine.
Okay.
Boy, is it delicious. And I did not know that album very well. And a couple weeks ago, just kind of got into it. I urge you after this to go and listen to that track, Check My Machine. It's a good time. And it's also one of those that definitely holds up. Like it almost like cool. This would actually be on like alt radio or something right now if it came out right now.
I was listening to Kraftwerk after Rolf passed actually as well.
Yeah.
Like and going back and listening to like that when Kraftwerk really came through. Like, my God, that's really interesting music even now. Like Autobahn, like this 20-minute piece of, oh, man, I love it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. I dig. Jake, what about you, man?
I've been like trying to listen to, there's this new album. I love Butch Walker as like a writer and as a performer and everything. I just think he's brilliant. But he just put out this like really ambitious album. I don't know how I feel about it yet. But it's all, I think it's called American Love Story, but it's all about literally like the state of America right now. And it's like a rock opera.
Okay.
And he's never done like a proper like concept album before this, but it's like it's not like a casual listen yet. Like I've listened to it probably 6 times. I'm still like trying to like decipher everything, but there's lyrics like talking about like Southern white men with like a MAGA sticker on the back, but it's a Japanese car, and like how weird contradictory that is, and like homosexuality and all these there's all these characters, and it's an interesting album coming from him too, because he's such a outspoken liberal person from the middle of Georgia. So I've been listening to that a lot. The new Haim, been listening to a lot. And then weirdly, like I like rediscovered this one song, and it's so weird. It's like a guilty pleasure that I'm obsessed with, and I can't get enough of it. But it's by DeBarge. It's that song, Who's Holding Donna Now? I don't know if you've heard the song, but I'm like, it's such a beautiful like 80s ballad song, and I probably listen to it like 5 times a day right now. Yeah.
That's what's up. I'm excited to check out that Butch Walker album. He seems like a dude, if he's saying something, he means it. So
True.
I want to give that a listen.
Yeah.
All right. Question for our creators. If The Wicked and the Divine were a film with an unlimited budget, who would you have compose the music for the movie?
Well, with an unlimited budget, we could afford a time machine.
I was
And
gonna
with a
say,
time
yeah.
machine,
Go
we
ahead,
would get,
Dave.
we get Prince and Bowie, we just get them out the time stream. Like the TARDIS, but the TARDIS was like a mixing studio.
Yeah.
We'd get them into the mixing studio and then we do it that way, I reckon.
Yeah, I dig that. I like that. Interestingly enough, did you guys know that Prince was on board before Danny Elfman to do the music for one of the Batman movies? And then ended up just doing the soundtrack, and Danny Elfman kind of came in and like Danny Elfman, but like
It's a very different vibe.
Great stories, about that. All right, cool. I mean, you really can't go wrong with. I put the Eels shirt on, but before I had the Bowie shirt on, but I was like, we're gonna give it up for the Eels today. All right, Jake. Question for you. Before Phangs, you were in a rock band called the Cardboard Kids.
Yes.
What inspired the change of genre to Phangs, and what's with the name?
Cardboard Kids was just like, we play this dumb game, me and all my friends, where we just have fake band names all the time, and like we like build these stories for these fake things, like even down to like weird specific genres, like a jock jam band. Like it's just playing sports songs. Like what would they be called? And Cardboard Kids was like this jokey like thrash rap name, and then I liked it, and we started writing these rock songs, just really out of being bored in Texas at the time. And it was me and like two of my other friends in Texas, and we started writing these songs, and we were really into like Oasis and Third Eye Blind and Portugal the Man, like all three of them into one thing, and started writing these songs, and we moved to Nashville, and everything got really awesome all of a sudden. And but I think that I'm just not very rock and roll, genuinely. Like I have tattoos and long hair, but like that's the extent of it. I'm very much like a soft boy. So I changed it to Phangs, and it completely like did a different thing. Like I don't play with those guys anymore. One of them moved back to Texas. He's literally a bull rider now.
A bull rider?
Went like full Texas again for him. The other guy went back to college, and he's like producing stuff for indie films.
That's cool.
And I've been doing Phangs, and it's like taken off way bigger than Cardboard Kids did. And Phangs is actually like I got that name. It's the name of a comet from the story saga from those comic books.
Very cool.
That's what that is. But yeah, I just started writing. I love pop music. I'm a sucker for pop music, for a good hook, and so just that's kind of more so my bread and butter. So
dig. I like that Saga reference.
Yeah, I love Saga. Big fan.
It's a good comic.
It is a good comic.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say last question, and then we'll transition over to our rapid fire round. What was the first album you purchased with your own money? Jake, let's start with you.
All right. Technically, well, the first album I ever like owned that was like mine, I received it into my hands, was Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette.
Nice.
But that was like this weird like radio promo that was happening growing up, and like I got it for free, and that's a way cooler one than what the real one is.
Yeah,
I spent my money on Middle of Nowhere by Hanson. That was my first album that I bought with money.
I had that one too. No judgments. No joking.
Bebop's a banger. You know, it's like.
It's the one. It's timeless.
That's what's up. I actually watched Dogma last night, and Alanis is God in it.
Yeah.
I'm
I've
like,
been
yes,
to
this
see
is
her.
my savior
There's
any day.
Alanis Morissette Broadway play now that I've been really wanting to go see.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I've heard great things about it.
I heard it's fantastic. Like, fingers crossed it comes back after all of this. All right, Kieron.
Well, okay, same way. The first one that was bought for, the first one I asked for and was bought for me. I think that's not. I remember the first one I bought with my own money.
Okay.
Okay, I'm quite sure. The first one I asked for and was bought for me was the Best of Bananarama, and like I will go to bat for Bananarama hard in this kind of like. And to be honest, three women singing slightly out of tune over like trashy emotion. That's still basically most of what I love.
Awesome.
But I think the one that actually went out into a shop to buy was Rust in Peace by Megadeth. I think that was it. That was actually because I think I Appetite for Destruction as a present, and I think I actually went and bought with money I saved Rust in Peace. I think that might have been it. So that was definitely my metal stage.
That Midlands metal thing.
Yeah.
It's
Before I went goth. That's my trajectory.
Yeah.
It's from Bananarama to metal to goth to like weird indie stuff.
Yeah. The first, I mean, I had just had to Google because I couldn't remember which one came first. The first one I bought with my own money was Elastica's debut album, which is way cooler than it should be, to be honest.
Oh, well.
But that is the one it was either that or Aisha Coco by Supergrass, but that came out 2 months later. So now I know.
All right.
Yeah.
Great, great responses and no judgments.
It's ridiculous, right? It's way too cool. Like, it's stupid, but that is the actual answer.
I was like, Jamie's the guy everyone wanted to hang out with. Like, like got that cool stuff going on. All right. Let's head into our rapid fire round where I will name 10 genres of music and you guys will name the first thing that comes to your mind. We're going to start with the creators and you guys have decided to go rapid fire back and forth. Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah, so we only have to answer 5 each.
Who's starting?
Okay. So starting with, I guess, me, because, and then
right,
Jamie.
All right, here we go. Here we go, Kieron. Soundtrack.
Samba. I cannot think of any samba.
Wait, what was your answer?
Samba. Was
Okay.
that the thing?
Soundtrack. What was your favorite song?
Oh, soundtrack. I thought you said samba.
I'm like, I don't think so. I didn't even write that down, but I'm going to now.
Yeah. Soundtrack. Immediately, actually, I go to Mogwai because I've been listening to Mogwai's soundtrack album. Then they've got a new soundtrack album out. So Mogwai is the first thing I think of.
Okay. The next one, grunge.
I was never a big grunge fan. So Nirvana, I guess.
Okay.
The obvious answer, yeah.
Britpop.
I went to Blur.
Hip hop.
Public Enemy.
Musical theater.
I've literally just forgot the name of the one because I literally went to see it just before the spring. I forgot the name of everything. Hamilton, obviously. So like, I went to see Hamilton in London like just before all this kicked off. This is not the most rapid fire round.
No, we're very slow.
That's okay. That's okay. All right, here we go. Swedish death metal.
No idea. Literally no idea. A title that you can't read because that's what all their logos are like.
Didn't the Cardigans start as doing heavy Swedish death metal?
Did they? Well, the Cardigans.
I'm going to say that.
That would have. I don't know if anyone would have had the Cardigans as an answer for Swedish death metal, but I like that. That's your answer. All right, emo.
Oh my god, My Chemical Romance.
Okay, 60s rock.
Rolling Stones.
Punk.
Buzzcocks.
Last one, EDM.
That doesn't really exist as a genre in the UK.
You can pick a subgenre of EDM if you'd like.
Dance. The Knife. I'm not sure that qualifies, but
Well done, gents. You made it. Well done. All right.
Samba.
Sounds
Samba.
like Simba from The Lion King? The
Yeah,
Lion King.
Samba.
All right. Jake, throat clear, you ready?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
All right, here we go.
I'm so bad at this stuff.
You got it. But that's kind of the fun of it, right? All right.
All right.
Early 2000s.
Third Eye Blind.
Rap.
Kanye.
Frat boy rock.
Frat boy rock. Is that
Yeah,
what you said?
I did.
Like Hall & Oates.
Disco.
It's very yachty. Disco. Now Rogers.
Disney soundtrack.
Tarzan. Easy.
Yes,
Phil
Phil Collins. Yes, Phil Collins. Country.
Casey Musgraves.
Good choice. Instrumental.
Tycho.
Americana.
Ryan Adams.
Indie rock.
Death Cab.
Yacht rock. Last one.
Yacht rock. I mean that's also. I would just say Hall & Oates is first thing on that.
It's an entire album of Hall & Oates for frat boys and all the yacht rock people. All right, well done. Well done. Good job.
All answers should be Hall & Oates, because I can go for that.
Yeah.
Hall & Oates, Hall & Oates, Hall & Oates, Hall & Oates. All of them.
Yeah.
All right. All right, friends. That takes us to our shout out section where our guests let our fans in on upcoming projects, music, tours, everything. Jake, will you kick it off, please?
Yeah, I just finished technically my first like full length album, so that's coming out in August, and then I'm doing this whole North America tour, and all the pre-orders and everything for that go up on Friday, and it's crazy, but it's fun. That's coming up.
Exciting. And pre-orders, where can we find those?
It'll all be on thisisfangs.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Kieron.
I've just launched a new comic. It's only 5 issues. It's called The Ludocrats. It's co-written by a guy called Jim Rosenau, who's like one of my old friends from forever. Drawn by Jeff Stokely, colored by Tamara Bonvillain. It's basically about like the aristocrats of the ludicrous is the idea, and it's a kind of imagine like something like Tintin or like Asterix and Obelix, like that kind of like playful kids comic stuff, but as a sort of sex comedy and there's a lot of drugs involved in this thing, so it's really playful and very dumb, and that's out. And like Die is coming back soon, and Wicked is still available. So like, and the best way to keep in contact with my stuff, I run a mailing list, which is Kieron Gillen at KieronGillen.substack.com. But basically enter my name into Google, and you'll probably find something relevant to buy. So
Fair, thank you. I also love that you were like, it's like children, but then there's sex and drugs.
yeah, it's like children's. It's like it's not described because it's easy to describe in Britain because some of the stuff is known better here. But it's just like weird, and it's a weird fantasy comic basically about awful people.
It is quite indescribable.
Then we look forward to it. And Jamie.
So I'm working on my own comic called The Killing Horizon, which will hopefully be out towards the end of the year. It's a big kind of space opera. It's completely the opposite of Wicked and Divine, which is kind of challenging but interesting. Beyond that, I'm doing some stuff I can't talk about.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for now. Yeah. So you can find my stuff. I've also got a Substack newsletter, so it's McKelvie.substack.com. Is the best place to keep in touch with it all.
Fantastic. And if it's an opera, does that mean music's involved?
Space opera. So it's big, ridiculous, over the top, far future space adventures. Okay. I mean, I guess there could be some music involved. Actually, yeah, I've got some plans, but it's too early to talk about that stuff.
Okay.
I was about to say, is it what's public? I was sort of thinking.
Yeah, no, not that yet. No. So.
All right. Fair.
Yeah.
Wow. All of that sounds really exciting. Looking forward to check it all out as it rolls out. Huge, huge thanks to our guests, Jamie McKelvie, Kieron Gillen, and Phangs for joining CE Hits List today. This couldn't be possible without the Comics Experience community. Head over to comicsexperience.com to learn more about upcoming classes, mentorship programs, creators workshop, creative services, master seminars, publishing, and more. Peace. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.